Lately, my domineering boss has been acting off. The moment I went on a blind date, he slashed my salary, then looked the guy dead in the eye and said, "She can't afford a house, or pay off a loan." The poor guy fled. And my boss? He turned to me and said softly, "I'll give you the company, and the rest of my life. Isn't that enough?" Main story. When the bank sent over my payslip, my blind date just so happened to sit down across from me. And, as luck would have it, he caught a glimpse of the message. This month's income, $2,800. He was dressed like a decent man, but the disappointment on his face was unmistakable. "You're kidding, right? Aren't you a master's graduate from one of the top 211 universities? How come you're only getting $2,800? I flipped through the menu calmly. "Yeah, I live with my parents. $2,800 is more than enough." His tone instantly turned cold. "After tax, I still get $7,100. And you're only at $2,800? How are we supposed to afford a mortgage together in the future?" I couldn't help but laugh and glanced at my watch. "Sir, we've only been sitting here for 5 minutes, and you're already talking about us buying a house together? Have you already picked one out?" To my surprise, he nodded. "Yes. I've got my eye on an 80 square meter unit in Longwan Pavilion. If we put down 30%, that's $1.2 million up front. The monthly payments would be $7,800. I was speechless. What a dreamer. "And how much of the down payment have you prepared?" I asked. $150,000, he said proudly. "The rest would have to come from your family." I nearly burst out laughing. "Well, don't count on me then. I don't make enough to lay any bricks for your family mansion." At that point, there was no point in continuing the meal. He faked a phone call and ran off. Moments after he left, my phone buzzed again with a few more payment notifications. "Hello, your salary for August has been deposited. Monthly bonus, $43,000. Quarterly commission, $82,000. Housing fund, company plus personal $5,200. I scoffed. Couldn't they have sent the base salary first? I immediately called Jason. I called him boss, but there was nothing respectful about my tone. "Boss, you seriously need to raise my base salary." Jason, well known for being a workaholic, could code for 3 days straight without sleep. He answered groggily, "Huh? What's wrong? Are you short on cash?" "Of course not. I'm a shareholder. I have more dividends than I can spend. But I prefer to keep a low profile. Out there, my image is just a mentally resilient worker girl making $2,800 a month. Ugh. That blind date guy ditched me just now because he thought I was poor. I sat there alone at the restaurant. What a joke. Why did I only get $2,800 this month as my base salary?" Jason was silent for a moment. "I had finance adjust it," he finally said. I was speechless. He spoke awkwardly, his voice magnetic and ticklish in my ear. "There are too many men out there who scam women and even kill their wives for money. I was worried about your safety. 2,800 is still too much. Maybe next time I'll adjust it to 1,800. I liked Jason. But I had never confessed. Not in the past, and I had no intention of doing so in the future. Because he had a white moonlight, a woman named Rachel. She was the class goddess, beautiful, talented in piano, calligraphy, chess, painting. A perfect match for someone like him. If Rachel hadn't been so determined to study abroad, they probably would have been married by now. After graduation, he started his own company. I followed and worked alongside him. In 3 years, I achieved financial freedom. But unrequited love, it's like a life sentence. There's never a day when you're released on good behavior. My aunt wanted to set me up on a blind date. Jason knew. He saw me touching up my makeup, hesitated for a long time, and finally just said, "Julie, be careful. Don't reveal your actual financial situation. You never really know people." And that's why he had finance adjust my salary to $2,800 this month. How thoughtful. I rolled my eyes. Jason really did treat me like a soft-brained child. Later, my aunt called and fumed that Mr. Wang looked so decent, but he turned out to be so two-faced. And he even disliked you for being poor. Thank goodness I didn't tell him about your apartment in Longwan Pavilion. Otherwise, he'd be clinging to you like a leech. A few days later, I didn't expect Mr. Blind Date to show up for an interview at my company. We bumped into each other. He paused, looking startled. "Oh, it's you," he said with a fake smile. "I'm here to interview for a manager role. Maybe I'll end up being your superior someday." I nearly laughed out loud. As far as I remembered, today's opening was just for a junior project manager. While he was basking in his delusions, my secretary jogged over. She ignored his overeager smile and handed the interview documents directly to me. "Director Du, here are the interviewees' profiles for today." Mr. Blind Date froze at the title Director Du. He looked confused. "What position do you hold at this company?" How could a director make only $2,800 a month? I quickly gave the HR rep a look. Retreat, retreat. Oh, it's just a nickname among colleagues, I laughed. You know how celebrities are called teacher even if they can't act or read a script? Same thing. My improvisation skills were top tier. He gave a knowing smile. No wonder. I was thinking, this company is about to go public. How could they pay such a low salary? I didn't want to deal with him. It was too much trouble. So I called Jason. What are you doing? Busy? President Brown, always drowning in work, answered, of course. 3 online meetings. Plus some offline investor visits. What do you think? Then never mind. That blind date guy is here for an interview. I'll avoid him. It's too awkward. Hold on. Jason's tone suddenly changed. He became serious. The blind date guy? Then I'll come over. Tell them all to wait. Didn't you just say you were busy? Didn't you have clients to entertain? President Brown was firm. He bailed on your date. What if he worms his way into the company and causes trouble? I have to vet him personally. A few minutes later, President Brown made a grand entrance. He was dressed in a tailored 3-piece suit, polished shoes, and not a single strand of hair out of place, like he was on his way to ring the Nasdaq bell. HR was stunned. I thought President Brown was wearing shorts and a black tee this morning. I was just as confused. Who knew what was going on? He looked like a peacock strutting into a beauty pageant. The interview began. After listening to the blind date guy introduce himself, Jason asked a few technical questions related to information systems. For every answer the guy gave, Jason countered with a sharper one, gradually dismantling his confidence. By the end, the man was flushed red, completely humiliated. President Brown was a heavyweight in the industry. Trying to match his technical skills was pure suicide. Finally, Jason spun his pen between his fingers and slowly turned his deep gaze toward me. I had a very bad feeling about this. He smirked ever so slightly, then asked the man, on May 2nd, around 9 p.m., you had dinner at a certain restaurant, didn't you? The blind date guy froze. Then he glared at me, assuming I'd tattled on him. But I was more confused than he was. Jason tapped his pen lightly on the table and said calmly, the restaurant you dined at without paying, belongs to me. We were all stunned. Jason continued, so now, I'm asking you to return the 230 yuan you owe Miss Julie, and apologize for skipping out on the bill. My jaw dropped. That restaurant, was Jason's? Was being a capitalist not enough for him? He's now expanding into the restaurant business? The blind date guy turned beet red. He shot up from his chair, knocking it over in the process. I jumped. Jason stood up as well, face composed and calm. The air suddenly became tense and suffocating. HR even started subtly pulling out her phone, probably to call security. But Jason, tall and imposing, didn't need to raise his voice. His commanding presence alone was enough to force the blind date guy into submission. Eventually, the guy backed down. Fine, I'll pay. I had something urgent that night and forgot to settle the bill, okay? Even as he transferred the money, he muttered under his breath, I only had 5 bites. She ate more than I did. That 230 is daylight robbery. Jason had had enough. You mean the 5 bites where you polished off the most expensive foie gras on the menu? He narrowed his eyes. You didn't come for a date, you came to freeload. I couldn't hold back my laughter. I happily accepted the payment and immediately deleted him from my contacts. After work, I waited for Jason at the office entrance. President Brown, you free tonight? Let me treat you to dinner. The corners of Jason's lips curved up, but he pressed them shut again quickly and straightened his tie, pretending to be serious. That depends, what are you treating me to? I beamed. Well, I made 230 yuan today. How about some street barbecue? Jason's smile deepened. Director Du, making only 2,800 yuan a month, and you're still willing to treat me to such an extravagant meal? Impressive. I played along. Of course, you're my boss. Gotta treat you right if I want that raise next month. Our finance manager happened to walk by and couldn't help but roll his eyes. You two are major shareholders. I beg you, please don't go to a street stall for dinner. If someone takes a photo, people will think our company's going bankrupt. Can't you go sip some 82 Lafite? Or have some French escargot or something? We both went silent. Jason replied, I'm allergic to alcohol. I added, and I'm allergic to anything that crawls in a shell. The finance manager pushed us both into the car and drove us straight to the entrance of a Michelin-starred French restaurant. This place has a great night view, he said. Super romantic. I proposed to my wife here. Brings good luck. Before we got out of the car, he gave Jason a sly grin. Boss, my idea of timing the salary notification, pretty effective, right? Think I deserve a raise too? I blinked, stunned. My brain short-circuited for a second. Time salary notification? Jason avoided my eyes and coughed awkwardly. Then he slammed the car door shut and told the finance manager to scram. As I stepped into the elevator, I thought back carefully. Come to think of it, that day, other employees had received their salaries in the afternoon. Only mine came in during dinner. Could it be he did that on purpose? But why? The elevator doors opened. Jason stepped out first and saw me lagging behind. Hurry up. What are you dawdling for? He stood beneath the giant crystal chandelier. The dazzling light reflected off his face, flawless features lit like stained glass. Even though I saw him every day, my heart still skipped a beat. After all, he was the person I'd admired, liked, since college. I pushed those emotions down and followed him to our table. Once we sat, I asked directly, President Brown, did you intentionally ask finance to delay my salary that day? I didn't beat around the bush, just shot the question straight out. Jason's hand paused halfway through picking up the menu. There was a brief flicker of panic in his eyes. Under the glow of the chandelier, his pupils looked darker than usual, his gaze locked on me. My heart felt like it was being tugged upward by an invisible thread, suspended, fragile, vulnerable to breaking. That's why I never played games in relationships. With someone I liked, I couldn't stand ambiguity. Every second of being strung along felt like agony. So when I asked Jason, my expression was calm, no hesitation at all. When you've been in love with someone silently for long enough, you learn how to wear that mask. I had mastered the art of appearing indifferent. Finally, Jason admitted it. It was me. I'm sorry. I let out a breath and teased, so you're that afraid of me falling for some scammer? Do I really seem that gullible in your eyes? The more I joked, the tenser Jason's voice became, almost cold now. It doesn't hurt to be cautious. Scammers don't wear labels on their foreheads. And just like that, I realized I'd been overthinking again. But I still couldn't let it go. Is that restaurant really yours? I pressed. Jason looked serious. Yes. I'm a major shareholder now. But it has nothing to do with you. The place is close to our office, and you've been going there for blind dates. I saw investment potential. He had that classic I'm selling a dream look, like he was pitching to venture capitalists. I rolled my eyes. President Brown, what do you mean I always go there? I've only been there twice. And both times were under pressure, quick in, quick out. Jason's expression was colder than Arctic permafrost, cold enough to break a shovel. Exactly, he said. That's why I invested. Next time you go, remember to mention my name. For what? I narrowed my eyes. You planning to sabotage the date? He shot me a look. I'll give you a discount. Happy now? That's how things were between Jason and me. Our relationship was born from a fight. Back in college, there was a bit of a stalker problem on campus. We were in the middle of nowhere, isolated and huge. Several girls had been followed. One night, I was coming home late after work. The whole walk back, I felt something was off. There was a shadow behind me, not too far, not too close, just following. I clutched my backpack tightly, and when I felt someone reach for my shoulder, I spun around and smacked them full force with my bag. Black belt in Taekwondo. Still sharp. I could take someone down just fine. The poor guy who got slammed to the ground was Jason. He weakly held up my phone and said, "Hey, your phone fell." I was just trying to give it back. I touched my pocket. Oh, right. My phone really was missing. I helped him up, and only then did I realize how ridiculously handsome he was. Tall. Sharp brows, bright eyes. Textbook definition of hot. Later, I found out he was a second-year grad student, 3 years older than me. And with that kind of face, how could I not fall for him? So I used the excuse of apologizing to start bringing him milk tea. Not just for him. I brought drinks for everyone in his lab. I told my best friend, this is called surrounding the city to capture the king. But one day, I brought a whole bag of milk tea to find him. Only to see him hugging a girl on the lawn outside his dorm. She was crying. He awkwardly tried to comfort her. The two of them looked so close, so perfect together. I froze, backed up a step, and snapped a twig underfoot. They both turned to look at me. When I saw who the girl was, my heart dropped halfway. Rachel. One of the top 10 campus goddesses. Winner of the city beauty pageant. That night, my best friend came back with intel. Rachel's family and Jason's were close, childhood family friends. Rumor had it they were even engaged. They were renting an apartment off campus together. Most likely, living together. I felt completely crushed. Living together, and still drinking the milk tea I gave him? Furious, I planned to ask Jason what the hell was going on. But Rachel beat me to it. She approached me first. Said Jason wasn't good at this kind of conversation, so she'd deliver the message on his behalf. Julie, right? Jason's mentioned you. You've been bringing him milk tea a lot lately, haven't you? She smiled sweetly, like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. But, are you delivering for a food service company or something? Having some financial hardship, perhaps? At the time, I was a naive little fool, couldn't fight back even if I tried. I stood there, frozen. My whole body stiff. Rachel's smile had a hidden knife behind it. She didn't take me seriously at all. Best not to bother him anymore, she said, all politeness on the surface. It'd be awkward if things got ugly, wouldn't it? Later, Jason came to find me himself. I was proud and stubborn, afraid he'd humiliate me first, so I preemptively struck. Senior, to be honest, I was a little interested in your labmate before. But he already has a girlfriend. Anyway, guess you won't be getting any more free milk tea from me. Jason froze. His long lashes cast a shadow over his expression. After a long pause, he said quietly, "Oh. I see. Well then, next time, I'll treat you instead." That memory still makes me uncomfortable. Jason barely touched his food either. We sat there, both eating silently. Every time our eyes accidentally met, we immediately looked away, like we'd been zapped. French fine dining turned into college cafeteria vibes. Just as we were about to leave, someone called Jason's name. He turned around. And I nearly cracked on the spot. You have got to be kidding me. This restaurant is officially blacklisted. It was Rachel. Wearing a dazzling, modern-style cheapao, heels at least 10 centimeters tall, she gave Jason a big, theatrical hug. Sweetheart. I'm back. Surprised? Didn't expect it, did you? Jason's expression darkened instantly. He pushed her away before she could cling too long, then looked straight at me. His eyes. Part alarmed, part guarded, part helpless. Rachel was accompanied by a sharply dressed man, probably someone she was flirting with. The four of us stood there in fake harmony, but beneath the surface, the tension was electric. Rachel smiled, eyes still on Jason. If I had known you were free tonight, I would have reached out sooner. Then she turned her gaze on me, eyes scanning. This young lady looks familiar. I held out my hand, smiled brightly. I'm Julie. Miss Malek, don't you remember? You once thought I was a food delivery girl. Huh. Yes, I hold grudges. You throw shade at me? I'll send it right back. Rachel was momentarily speechless. She looked at us both, then said meaningfully, Jason, you and Miss Du are together now? Didn't expect your taste to change so much. Funny how you never mentioned it over the phone. God, I couldn't stand her. She was the one who left Jason behind to study abroad. Vanished for years. Now that Jason had secured funding and made a name for himself, she waltzed back like some empress returning to her palace. She started asking questions left and right. But I'd spent years building a business with Jason. My tongue was sharpened like a blade. I'd seen every kind of person, every kind of situation. Just as I was about to clap back, Jason, who had been standing with both hands in his pockets, suddenly reached out and took my hand. Not a casual touch. He laced our fingers together, interlocked, warm, firm. My heart thudded wildly. I looked up at him. He tightened his grip, then lifted his eyes calmly and said to both of them, Sorry. My girlfriend and I have a date to get to. You'll have to catch up with me another time. Girlfriend? Who, me? But hey, we were at least business partners. If I couldn't match his performance, that'd be embarrassing. I got it instantly. He was using me. And while that stung a little, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. If we had to team up to fight the green tea bitch, I was all in. I quickly glanced at both of their faces. Jason's expression was calm and composed, but the warmth of his palm gave him away. He was nervous. His ears were slightly flushed. So Rachel's return had shaken him. Are all men like this with their first love? Rachel gave a teasing little smirk. So this is what happens when a guy gets a girlfriend, he forgets his friends. I just got back, and you can't even spare a bit of time for me. That line lit a fire in me. The level of passive-aggressive tea was so thick, I nearly gagged. Friends? My ass. There's no such thing as friendship between exes. I sighed and looped my arm through Jason's, clinging on like a piece of sticky candy. My throat was dry from nerves, but my face? Calm as hell. We working adults, we know how to fake it. I smiled sweetly and replied in the same saccharine tone, Sorry, Miss Malek. We really can't. We had this all planned out. Dinner was just the warm-up. There's another round of activities waiting. Rachel, unwilling to back down, smiled right back. It's still early. One more person won't make a difference, right? Still holding Jason's hand, I adjusted my grip on the limited edition Hermes bag I'd just picked up, flipped my hair, and flashed her a dazzling smile. Apologies, Miss Malek. But what we're doing next isn't exactly child-friendly. Not really suitable for a third person. This French restaurant was inside the M Hotel, famous not just for its cuisine, but for being the go-to place for proposals. Now here we were, Jason and I, standing in a honeymoon suite, both staring at the giant bed in awkward silence. There was a heart made of rose petals right in the middle. We stood there for a while before realizing we were still holding hands. Just minutes ago, I'd wrapped my arms around Jason's waist and gotten into the elevator all lovey-dovey. I'd originally planned to head to the parking lot, but of course, Rachel had followed us up. She even tried to provoke us. "I have an M Hotel membership card. Jason, want me to upgrade your room?" Like I wouldn't dare say yes? I replied instantly, "Of course. That would be so helpful." If we were gonna fake it, we had to commit. I leaned into Jason, acting all clingy and cutesy. "Ah, sweetie, your ex is so generous." Jason kept one arm around my waist and looked off into the distance, like he'd emotionally checked out of the war zone. I knew my shameless act was driving the green tea bitch crazy, and I loved it. So, that's how we ended up being forced to swipe into the honeymoon suite. 66th floor. Panoramic night view. City lights sparkling outside, absolutely breathtaking. Jason didn't care for the view. He scanned the room quickly. He walked toward the bed but, upon seeing the rose petals, pivoted and sat on the small sofa instead. "So, should we check out later?" he asked, eyes hopeful. I peeked through the peephole and cursed under my breath. Rachel was staying on the same floor. If we ran into her again, that would be a disaster. I calculated mentally like a miser. "Well, we've already paid, would be a waste not to stay." Jason nodded. "You're right. Waste is shameful." Then he added, super nonchalantly, "Anyway, it's not like we haven't stayed together before." That was different. "Back then, we were on business trips," I muttered. I glanced at the thermostat. 18 degrees Celsius. Already cold. But I still felt prickly all over. The heat came from the memory of our hands interlocked just moments ago. He was referring to that time during our startup days. We'd been out visiting clients and had to save money, so we split a cheap single room. I was in the middle of showering when the power and water suddenly went out. Covered in shampoo foam, I had to wait for Jason to run downstairs and buy water. He came back with 2 big bottles, climbed 10 flights of stairs, and carefully rinsed my hair. That night, we sat in the powerless motel room, working overtime, finishing a pitch deck with the last bit of battery on our laptops. Jason used to be the type who rarely spoke, just buried himself in research. All the business deals were handled by me. But after that, he broke out of his shell. Started pitching harder than anyone else. Now, back in the present, Jason headed for the bathroom to shower. The frosted glass door gave only a vague outline. I heard the water running and I snuck a peek. He really had a great body. As he was about to come out, I stood near the AC and let it blow directly on my face, trying to cool the heat off my cheeks. When Jason emerged, I put on a dramatic show. I shook all the rose petals off the bed and stomped on them for good measure. Jason blinked. "What are you doing?" "I'm being thorough," I said. "What if Rachel comes to inspect the room? We need to make it look like things got passionate." Jason paused, then chuckled. "You really thought this through?" "Of course," I grinned. "Serving the boss is part of my job." I joked to hide how flustered I really was. Good Lord. Jason had come out shirtless. Water still dripped down his torso, tracing the lines of his abs. When the hell did he grow abs? I had nothing left to do, so I just stared blankly at the one and only bed in the room. Jason coughed. "So, how are we sleeping tonight?" My heart skipped. Heat flushed up my face again. "You take the bed," I said quickly, overly loud. "Please, I insist." Jason had been a little nervous too, but my over-the-top reaction made him laugh. He picked up a pillow and placed it on the sofa. "You take the bed. I'll sleep here." The couch was tiny compared to his 6 feet 2 inches frame. His legs would be dangling off the edge. When I offered to sleep on the sofa instead, Jason instantly looked displeased. Even threatened me. "Say one more word, and I'll set your base salary back to $2,800 next month." Fine. But there was only one blanket. Jason would be freezing. I called the front desk and asked for an extra one. The moment the staff arrived, Rachel happened to open her door across the hall. I don't know how she always timed it so perfectly. Was she eavesdropping? Rachel glanced at the blanket in my hands. "Huh? Isn't that the honeymoon suite? Why do you need a single-person blanket?" "Crap." I stammered, mind blank. I shot Jason a desperate look, "Save me." Jason calmly took the blanket from me and replied smoothly, "The bed's a bit small. We're switching it up to avoid freezing." All adults. Everyone understood. Dear God, I thought, he's good at this. I shrank behind him, my ears burning red. My face probably looked like a tomato. Once the door closed, we both exhaled at the same time. My ears were still hot. My voice softer than usual. "President Brown, that was a pretty fast recovery." With the lights off, I curled up on the bed. He was curled up on the sofa, back facing me. A soft night lamp glowed beside him, lighting up the edges of his hair. I watched him silently. Then he spoke. Julie, since we graduated, you haven't called me senior again. I didn't. Because that word, so much more intimate than boss, reminded me of how we first met. The sweetness. The flutter in my chest. I replied quietly, we're at work. Calling you senior would look strange. And if I got used to it, Jason paused. What would happen? I chuckled. Well, calling you boss makes it easier to demand a raise. He laughed softly, Adam's apple bobbing. Then added in a low voice, actually, if you called me something else, I might raise it even faster. Something clutched my throat, tight and rusty. I pulled the blanket over half my face and asked, muffled, President Brown, now that Rachel's back, are you going to get back together with her? The room was too dark. But I heard his answer, calm and steady. No. Not before. Not now. Not ever. His certainty only left me more confused. Some of our old classmates had once urged Jason to go to America to find Rachel. After all, in everyone's eyes, they were the golden couple. But Jason always brushed it off, saying he was too busy starting his own business. Now that Rachel had returned, Jason's parents, who were living in their hometown, heard the news. They called him immediately. In the eyes of the older generation, Jason and Rachel had grown up together. They knew each other inside and out. They were the perfect match. But Jason, answering the call right in front of me, said flatly, impossible. Just give up already. His parents were so angry, they hung up right away. I found it strange. Jason was someone incredibly stubborn. Once he made up his mind about something, he'd follow through no matter what. If he really loved Rachel, why did he let her go abroad? Why hadn't he once tried to visit her in the US all these years? He had taken vacations. He invited me on hikes, climbing trips, even outings to play claw machines. So why didn't he have time to fly to the States? I was feeling restless. Fortunately, our company soon organized a team-building trip to a resort I'd always wanted to visit. Once we arrived at the lobby, I saw the place packed with people, handsome guys, beautiful girls. I was curious. Turns out, there was a high-end singles mixer being hosted that day. HR, who was also single, got excited. Her eyes lit up. Let's sign up. Come on, there's a pool party tonight. If we register as a pair, we get a discount. She grabbed my hand, determined to register us. At that moment, Jason walked over, wearing a light gray linen outfit that immediately drew attention. You're not checking in, what nonsense are you two getting into? When he found out it was a singles mixer, his expression darkened, and he shot me a disapproving glare. What? I blinked, confused. Then I glared back, refusing to back down. Just as it was our turn to pay, Jason stepped forward without hesitation and stood in front of us. What now? To my shock, he pulled out his bank card and told the staff, we'll register 3 people. HR and I looked at him like he was insane. This was girl stuff, what was he getting involved for? Jason answered righteously, 2 people get a 20% discount. 3 get 30%. I'm saving you money. I wanted to clap sarcastically. Thanks a lot. You're truly the most considerate boss in China. The staff led us to a small side room to fill out our registration forms. These usually asked for things like employer and income. Jason, being the rare catch he was, quickly became the center of attention. A few female staff members circled around him, asking all kinds of questions. My mood plummeted. I was downright furious. Mr. Brown, we need your monthly salary range filled in, one staff member said, still smiling sweetly. I dragged over a chair and sat down beside them, then deliberately said, Jason's monthly salary is $2,750. Before tax. Jason froze. Then a few seconds later, he pressed his lips together, trying hard not to laugh. What's so funny? I'm just giving you a taste of your own medicine. The staff member looked stunned. Clearly, she hadn't expected someone as polished and elegant as Jason to earn that little. She double-checked, Mr. Brown, is that really your salary? Jason replied without missing a beat, yes, she's right. It's $2,750. Then he added with a mischievous smile, but she's not much better. Hers is $2,800, also before tax. HR stared at us like we were lunatics. Later that night at the pool party, we were seated at a table way off to the side. A soft breeze drifted through the hotel's open terrace. Jason reached out a hand. Let's go by the river. Not many people there. I couldn't help but tease him, so we signed up just to spectate. Even so, I still placed my hand in his. When he pulled me up, he used too much force. I stumbled forward and fell right into his arms. He held me tightly. My cheek pressed against his chest. My heart was pounding wildly. To say I wasn't affected would be a lie. His warm breath brushed against my ear. They're starting the dance. Do you still remember what we learned at school? Back in the day, we had joined a school dance. Neither of us knew how to dance then, awkward and clumsy, stepping all over each other's feet like fools. I remember, I murmured. I stepped on you 13 times. Jason chuckled softly. Then don't worry, I won't get revenge. Sweet music filled the air. Romantic lights and scents wafted through the open-air ballroom. Young men and women wandered, searching for dance partners. A man walked up and asked politely, "Miss, may I have this dance?" Jason and I had just separated. My heart was still pounding. Jason answered for me, "Sorry, she's already taken for the next dance, with me." The man nodded with a gentleman's grace, then handed me his business card. "Here's my contact info. Let's be friends sometime." I accepted the card and smiled politely. "Sir, I belong to the earning less than 3K bracket." He smiled warmly. "Salary isn't everything. Don't sell yourself short, Mississippi." I was wearing a dress with no pockets and hadn't brought a bag. After he walked away, Jason naturally offered, "I'll hold it for you." Without a word, I handed it over. As the music resumed, Jason extended his hand in a graceful invitation. Sometimes I really couldn't figure Jason out. Was his possessiveness just a habit, or was it something deeper? Maybe he was simply used to having me around, through his startup, through the ups and downs, so he couldn't bear the thought of me moving on. But if it was love, as the song ended, I took a deep breath and looked up at him. "Jason, there's something I need to say." He met my eyes. "Me too. I've got something to tell you." His gaze was so intense, so earnest, it gave me unexpected courage. The mask I'd worn for years seemed to peel away under his stare, painfully, but almost cathartically. "These past few years, I've poured all my time into the company, into you. I think it's time I tried something different. A new kind of life. Jason, don't you think our relationship is a little too close? Maybe it's time to change that. Either we get closer, so close we keep no secrets, close enough to stay that way forever. Or we pull apart completely, and go back to being nothing more than boss and subordinate." Jason asked urgently, "This new life you're talking about, what does it look like? Can you tell me?" He grabbed my wrist, his voice low. I want. Suddenly, he stopped. "What's wrong?" I looked up, noticing his expression shift. His eyes weren't on me anymore. He was looking at someone, behind me. I turned my head to follow his gaze. And I nearly cursed out loud. Rachel again? What, did I dig up her ancestors' graves in my past life? She had drunk a lot. Flushed red in the face, she was flirting with a few men. Jason's expression darkened, I could see he was about to intervene. I grabbed his arm, even using a bit of force. "President Brown, do you think it's appropriate for you to go?" Stopping him like this was the only thing I could do. Otherwise, what position did I have to stop him? She was his childhood sweetheart. No matter how you looked at it, Jason had every reason to go. So he gave me an apologetic look and said quickly, "Wait here. I'll be right back." He strode toward Rachel, pushed aside the men around her, and dragged her away without explanation. I stood there blankly. The joy I had felt moments ago vanished into disappointment. I returned to my room alone. I drank heavily. The alcohol dulled my pain, allowing me to patch up the mask I had barely held together. Between us, there would always be Rachel. I was tired. We were always taught to persist, to strive, to never give up. But love was the one thing that effort couldn't win. The next morning, Jason knocked on my door. "Julie, I settled her down last night and came back to look for you. Were you asleep? You didn't answer any of my calls." I opened the door, already fully dressed and made up, radiant and glowing, even with false lashes on. Thanks to my expensive skincare products, the puffiness was gone without a trace. Jason looked stunned, almost mesmerized. "You're heading to breakfast now? Let's go together." I pointed behind him. The man who had invited me to dance yesterday was waving at me. I smiled. "Sorry, President Brown. I have a date. It's not exactly appropriate to bring my boss along." While Jason stood there frozen like a statue, I walked away with Daniel and headed to the Western restaurant. Daniel, a manager at an investment firm, was refined and courteous. We had great conversations. After 2 dinners together, Daniel drove me home. Before I got out of the car, he confessed his feelings. I stopped him from getting too close. "Sorry. I think it's better if we stay friends. I just don't feel anything for you." Daniel looked down in disappointment, then sincerely said, "That's okay. Let's start as friends, then. I'll wait." As I got out of the car, I noticed Jason standing by the entrance of the community. It was autumn, almost winter. He was only wearing a thin dress shirt. If he stayed out any longer, he was definitely going to catch a cold. I nearly blurted out something out of concern, but I held back. I scoffed. "President Brown, it's already 10:30. What brings you here at this hour? Since that night, we had been in a cold war. Or rather, I had been ignoring him completely. Jason apologized, I ignored it. He queued for 2 hours to buy trendy milk tea and brought it to me. I refused to drink it. And when he saw me getting out of Daniel's car, he stormed over furiously. Daniel's not a good guy. You can't be with him. What does it have to do with you? I snapped. Just as I was about to explode, he handed me a file. I opened it, background investigation. Jason was seriously panicking, looking like an anxious father worried about his daughter getting scammed. He's divorced. His ex-wife was a rich woman, he took half her assets in the divorce. After becoming an investment manager, he specifically targets wealthy women like you. He's tricked plenty of them already. At the resort, he deliberately approached you. It's all written in this report. I was startled, but after thinking it through, it all made sense. Daniel was too accommodating, too slick, like someone from a questionable industry. And the way he looked at me. I wasn't stupid. I could tell. I closed the folder and looked into Jason's worried eyes. President Brown, thank you for your concern. But I also have the right to meet jerks. Don't you understand that? Jason stared at me, confused. So Rachel's great, huh? And yet you still can't let her go. That's love too, right? Love isn't logical, is it? Why are we talking about her again? Jason frowned. Classic straight guy logic, always missing the point. I already told you. I went to find you right after settling her down that night. I knocked, messaged, you ignored me. I narrowed my eyes. I wasn't going to let this go. She's a grown woman. She drinks a little and you run to rescue her? You really have time on your hands. What's next? If she calls you at midnight, you'll go too? Are you her 24-hour on-call backup? Jason tried to explain. I waited, wanting him to go on. But he seemed to be hiding something. He stopped halfway and swallowed his words. Rachel wants to join our company, he finally said. She studied communications in the US. She wants to be our PR director. Oh. That's rich. I'm still a shareholder, aren't I? Why wasn't I informed about this? I snapped. Jason handed me another folder. I'm leaving on a business trip. Her interview is tomorrow. You handle it. Wow. Interviewing my love rival? Then I'd better bring my A-game. I booked a last-minute spa, exfoliated, and got a full makeover. The next day, Rachel showed up to her interview brimming with confidence, until she saw me. Her whole demeanor changed. Miss Du? You're conducting the interview? Isn't that a bit inappropriate? I sat down at the head of the interview table and replied professionally, President Brown is on a business trip. I'm the acting company representative. Miss Rachel, what exactly do you think is inappropriate? She scoffed, our fields are entirely different. I have a master's in communications from Yale University in the US. If I recall, you studied environmental engineering, didn't you? Oh wow. Look who's trying to flex. I smiled. I manage over 100 employees. We've got Tsinghua and Peking grads everywhere. HR couldn't help chiming in. Since the startup phase, Miss Du has overseen all our sales and operations. She's delivered outstanding results. Are you saying you didn't even research the company before interviewing? Seems like you don't know much about us. Rachel's expression soured. A high-caliber candidate like me should be privy to strategic-level decisions. She thought she had this in the bag, pretty face, ties to Jason. Too bad she ran into me and our HR manager, two immovable mountains. Leaning back in my chair, I said calmly, every company is the same, more employees than managers. Do you expect the leaders to master every subject just to manage their team? Miss Malik's expectations are a little too naive. That interview truly entertained me. Afterward, I called Jason. She's not a good fit. He replied, got it. I trust your professional judgment. I listened closely. There was no trace of displeasure or annoyance in his voice. He truly seemed to trust me, wholeheartedly. The emotions I'd been suppressing for days finally began to loosen. I just don't like her. President Brown, are you sure you don't think I'm letting personal grudges cloud my decision? Jason's voice was low and warm through the phone. You might be mad at me, but you're not mad at the company. Besides, you're a major shareholder. She'll have to cooperate with you on many things. If you already don't get along, there's no need to force it. I felt a flutter of happiness. To be honest, if she were truly talented, I'd be willing to take her. But the reality is, her skills and salary expectations don't match our standards. That's all. Before I could hang up, Jason sent me a photo of the sky via text. He asked, what does this look like to you? I studied the blue sky and white clouds carefully. A pork kidney. There was silence. Then a sigh of disappointment. You seriously don't see a heart? Oops. Jason took a deep breath, adjusted his tone, and said, Julie, you once said the only men who could control you were your dad and your boyfriend. So, doesn't your boss count? My heart wavered again, floating unsteadily, thumping wildly, just like back in college. Why does my heart only grow so recklessly in this soil? I steadied my pulse and replied softly, a boss can't pay my salary for the rest of my life. You're right, Jason said. Then smoothly added, what if I stop being your boss, and become your boyfriend instead? Do you think that's doable? A few days later, Rachel came to our company again, this time as the newly appointed deputy editor of a media conglomerate, here to interview Jason. I didn't want to go. I made up an excuse, mainly because, ever since Jason confessed that night, I'd been in a flustered daze. Happiness had come too fast, and I wasn't sure how to handle it. But the administrative director came over, flustered. President Brown said you must be there, Miss Du, please don't make it difficult for me. So I headed to the conference room. The lighting crew had already set up. Rachel, in her professional outfit, gave me a cold smile. One of her questions was, President Brown, as one of the hottest rising tech entrepreneurs in the market today, what's been your greatest driving force in founding this company? Ugh, how boring. I yawned. It would definitely be one of those rehearsed answers, like, contributing to social progress, blah blah blah. But Jason's eyes shifted, past Rachel, directly to the back corner of the room. More precisely, toward me. My greatest motivation in starting this business is my partner. His voice was clear and steady, every word loud enough for all to hear. Under the flashing lights, he looked straight at me with a serious smile. Also, the person I love. Julie. Too sudden. I wasn't the only one stunned, everyone around us froze in shock. Then the room erupted in cheers. Even Rachel didn't expect the always composed Jason to say something like that. She kept trying to steer the conversation back, but Jason completely ignored her. I covered my mouth, heart pounding, unable to believe what I was hearing. When I started this business, finding investors was incredibly difficult. You gave up several excellent offers and invested all your savings to support me. It was true. I had poured all my savings, including my dowry, into his company. He was handsome. Women liked him. One rich heiress even tried to woo him by investing in his company. He rejected her on the spot. Afraid he'd reject me, I even made a point to clarify, I'm investing not because I like you, but because I believe in your company's future. You'd better make me rich. Jason pursed his lips, the tips of his ears flushing red. In the toughest times, we barely had any money. We stayed at guest houses that cost $80 a night. When the power and water were cut off, you went downstairs to buy water and helped me wash my hair. The building was old and dark. I remember thinking, maybe I should just give up. I couldn't bear to see you suffer with me. You were never someone without choices. If you wanted, you could have found a stable job, an easy life. But you never once complained. You even carried the technical presentation materials for our next day's roadshow. You knew I hated dealing with clients, so you always went in my place. I thought back then. Jason, you coward. His eyes were filled with tenderness, and his voice trembled. I had no choice but to succeed, for you. At that point, Jason didn't care about the interview anymore. He walked straight over and, amidst the applause of our employees, solemnly took my hand. Julie, are you willing to go from shareholder to boss's wife? Tears streamed down my face. I nodded and threw myself into his arms. The chest I had admired was now mine. The handsome man was mine. And now, even the company would be mine. I had put on extra dramatic makeup to deal with Rachel, but it was now all smudged from crying. Jason gently wiped my tears and waited for my answer. Choked with emotion, I asked, then, can I be the one to pay your salary from now on? Jason embraced me tightly and said, sure. You're in charge. Pay me however much you like. I took a deep breath, wrapped my arms around his neck, and quickly kissed him on the cheek. Then I turned to everyone and announced, President Brown's salary next month will be 2,800 yuan. No, I take that back. I added. The city's minimum wage is 1,800, let's go with that. Our employees burst out laughing, shouting, that's too much sugar. We're drowning in PDA. Grinning, I hugged Jason even tighter. Later, I asked him why he hadn't confessed earlier. Jason was speechless. You kept saying you didn't like me. Said the startup was just because you believed in the project, not because of me. I didn't dare say a word. I burst out laughing. So being too good at acting is a problem now. I leaned in, cupped his handsome face, and gave him a kiss. His breath quickened, but he took a moment to calm down, then suddenly pushed me down onto the sofa. I sank into the soft leather cushions, completely powerless to resist, just smiling up at him. Jason gripped my waist and lifted me slightly. This way, he said, it's easier to kiss. Once we confirmed our relationship, everything progressed quickly. We built our careers and dated every day. Life was so sweet it bubbled like soda. I even placed all the plushies I won in claw machines inside his car. One time, an investor got in and burst out laughing. "President Brown, why does your car look like Disneyland?" Jason glanced at me through the rearview mirror. I was hiding my laughter in the back seat. With a fond smile in his eyes, he replied, "My girlfriend likes it. She even said she wants our wedding in Disneyland." I hadn't expected that once we got together, Rachel would go behind our backs to complain. That day was the first day I officially moved in with Jason. We were curled up on the couch picking out furniture when his parents suddenly showed up unannounced, with Rachel. When they saw pairs of shoes at the entrance, Mrs. Brown exploded. "No. I don't approve of this daughter-in-law. I want Rachel." Jason immediately stepped in front of me. I later learned he had already had multiple arguments with his parents behind the scenes. By now, he was calm and steady. Facing his furious mother, he said plainly, "Julie is a major shareholder in our company. Right now, she's technically my boss." He didn't hold back at all, firing a major shot. "So please don't interfere. I can't afford to offend my boss." Jason's parents backed off. See? Even they couldn't argue when it came to real interests. I brewed hot tea for them. Mrs. Brown plopped down on the couch but refused to drink. Jason took the cup and drank it himself. "Still not satisfied," she said, "I watched Rachel grow up. She's like a daughter to me." "Jason, Rachel is such a good girl. You two have known each other for years, whatever misunderstandings you had, they should be cleared up by now." Mr. Brown chimed in too, "Exactly. Rachel only went to the US for her studies. It's all understandable." Rachel hung her head, pretending to be pitiful. "Let it go, Auntie," she said softly. "Jason must still be mad at me. Don't make things harder for him." What was that supposed to mean? As if Jason only dated me to spite her? Does she think the world revolves around her? "I'm not mad at you, Rachel," Jason said, setting down his teacup. He just wanted to end the farce quickly. "So he said to everyone present, I could never be with her. Because she never liked me. And, she doesn't even like men." What? I was stunned. The amount of information in that one sentence was overwhelming. Rachel looked like she'd been hit in a sore spot. She sprang to her feet. "Jason, how could you say that? You don't like me, that's fine. But don't slander me." "You know whether it's slander or not," Jason said quietly. "And I don't think it's anything shameful. Being honest about your preferences is fair to everyone. All these years, I've been covering for you. In college, you rented a place off campus with a female classmate using my name. I said nothing. When you broke up with your girlfriend and came to cry to me, Julie saw us. We were still in the ambiguous stage. You promised to explain it to her. But what did you actually say? You know the answer. You made Julie and me misunderstand each other for so long. You wanted me to be your cover. Because you needed an outstanding boyfriend, a perfect future husband. You wanted love and appearances both. That's fine. But I'm done helping you." After saying all this, Jason grabbed my hand and walked out, leaving Rachel and his stunned parents behind. Once in the car, I was still dazed. Jason gently fastened my seatbelt. "You two never lived together?" I asked. "No," he said with a sigh. "You never noticed? Rachel never wears short sleeves, even in summer." Now that I thought about it, it was true. But what did that have to do with anything? In 3rd grade, we played with firecrackers. I was reckless and caused an accident. The firecracker exploded, she was badly burned. Later, she said she dated girls because her scars made her feel too self-conscious to be close to men. I don't know psychology. I don't know if that was just an excuse. But I owed her. And my parents always said we owed her. They've always felt guilty. So from childhood, we gave her whatever she wanted. I honestly thought you liked someone else. That's why I never told you any of this. Now she's back and doesn't want to be honest with her family, so she's looking for a cooperative husband who knows everything. No wonder she tried to break us up. No wonder she tried to take that blind date too." Jason had stormed in and dragged the man away, refusing to let her deceive someone else again. That was too much. Jason has his own life. How could she keep using him like this? Anyway, after things blew up, Jason's parents never bothered me again. Later, we bought a new place near the company. 3 bedrooms and a living room. As Jason put it, it's too big, now relatives have no excuse not to stay in a hotel. He didn't have much stuff and moved in quickly. I, on the other hand, had way too much. It took several carloads just for my clothes. Our belongings all got mixed together. While unpacking, I suddenly found a large box. It was big, but surprisingly light. I shook it and wanted to ask Jason, but he was still busy decorating the bedroom. So I opened it myself. Inside, were tons of milk tea cups. The packaging looked familiar, they were from the shop I used to buy from for him. Each bottle had a different message printed on it. Every time I went to the lab with a bag of drinks, I'd secretly pick the best blessing to give to Jason. I liked him. I wanted to give him the best things in the world. I hadn't expected, he had washed and kept them all. Treasured them all these years. While I had been quietly in love with him, he had loved me back. My nose stung. I ran to the kitchen and hugged Jason from behind. "What's wrong?" he asked, startled. He turned around and pulled me into his arms. Thinking about everything we'd been through, all the stubbornness, all the effort. Somehow, it all felt like it had finally paid off. I wiped my tears and said playfully, "Nothing. I just suddenly want some milk tea." Jason met my eyes. He glanced at the open box and immediately understood why I had cried. He pressed his forehead to mine, his gentle gaze reflecting both time and me. "All right," he said. "Then let's go to that milk tea shop by campus, today." I guess love was never one big moment, it was all the little ones he quietly held on to. As I sipped my milk tea, hand in his, I smiled. "Turns out, you liked me all along." Jason chuckled. "Always." And just like that, the years we spent circling each other finally found their way home.